Hello! It's me again. And by again, I mean I already recorded this video, but my camera shut off and I lost all of my footage. So here we are again! Let's talk about a word that gets thrown around a lot among the crowds that think that banning books in public schools in any way is beneficial to children. Indoctrination. When we Google this word, we learn that the definition of indoctrination is to, quote, teach a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. And I'm going to say now that uncritically is the key word in this definition. Indoctrination most easily happens in a situation where a person, in this case specifically children, they're exposed exclusively to one set of beliefs. If they don't know of another belief structure, or otherwise have no evidence of opposition, they're never going to critically think about or question or examine their own beliefs and views, or the views they have been indoctrinated with. So if you haven't heard, there's recently been a ban or removal of the book Mouse by Art Spiegelman in a Tennessee school. This removal, which by definition is really a ban, I have videos on this, was due to the language and nudity depicted within the book. Specifically, there was a board that came together to talk about the fact that there were 8 bad words and 1 graphic nude image. Mind you, the school had already censored the book to the degree to which they could comfortably legally do without running into copyright infringement issues. Meaning the bad words and the nudity were already hidden from student view, and the book was already operating in line with the school's existing policies. So I've made videos on this before. Heck, I wrote my undergrad thesis on this very situation. But I have very serious issues with looking at literary and artistic works as a sum of its parts. Specifically their, naughty bits, opposed to taking the piece as a whole. Why? Because no teacher in their right mind is going to look at the nude graphic in that graphic novel and be like, see this nude figure? Do you see how smexy it is? Yeah? Side note, when I was like 8, smexy was like the word that everyone used, and I'm wondering, does anyone still use smexy? But I say this in part because no teacher in their right mind wants to deal with a bunch of pubescent teenagers oogling over a nude figure in the classroom, and in part because when looked at in context, that nude figure is a depiction of suicide. Hi, Editing Kendra here to add that while I'm not going to show the image in this video because copyright and censorship are complications on YouTube, I do want to throw out that the image itself is not particularly graphic or in any way titillizing. Just to kind of paint the visual picture in your mind, there is a woman laying in a bathtub. The bathtub is filled with water that appears to be a black liquid, and the way that it is drawn suggests that her boobs may be outside of the water. But again, you're getting an angle kind of like this, where it's like the back of the head and then like boobs. It's not like you're seeing genitalia in it. It is literally just a dead woman in a bathtub. So just wanted to throw that note in for context. Also, the removal of context assumes that the reader is going to be approaching this work with a vulgar or perverse mindset, which I will note that people will only do if they are taught to do so. I would also argue that it exposes the very people who are attempting to remove these materials as perverts, for the simple fact that they are actively seeking out this kind of content, particularly in media where this kind of content is not the focus. I've said this before, and I will say it a million times over. Teenagers have the ability to recognize and understand literary mechanisms. The assumption that a teenager will become too distracted by a single nude image or the use of the word damn, rather, the simple letter D, because it was censored, severely underestimates the intellectual capabilities of the average teenager. Especially when these teenagers are being led by their teachers in a conversation, a critical conversation about the horrors of the Holocaust. Yet, of the so-called vulgarity found in Mouse, and apparently a bunch of other content in the school's curriculum, because for some reason that all came up. One board member, because yes, I did read the minutes from that board meeting, had this to say, quote, "If I was trying to indoctrinate somebody's kids, this is how I would do it. You put the stuff just enough on the edges, so the parents don't catch it, but the kids, they soak it in. I think we need to relook at the entire curriculum. This board member is arguing more or less that the current curriculum is acting to, quote, normalize sexuality, normalize nudity, and normalize vulgar language, end quote. However, when considering Mouse, or literally any of the curriculum pieces that he mentioned, within its context, these pieces are not trying to promote nudity or sexuality or vulgarity as a virtue. Elements of the human experience? Certainly. Potentially used in horrific ways? Absolutely. But there's often vulgarity in reality. And in order to accurately teach a teenager about these events, in essence, provide them with an accurate depiction of historical events, some vulgarity, censored or otherwise, is necessary. And anything less is simply inaccurate. Ultimately, my question becomes, if we can trust these teenagers with the horrific imagery that surrounds even a moderately accurate depiction of what the Holocaust was like, why are we not trusting them to also be mature enough to handle some of these vulgar elements? Naturally, I'm not in Tennessee. I have no connection to this school. So, take from my stance what you will. If you agree with me and you live in this school district, I strongly urge you to take a stance against the removal of Mouse. For your reference, and to potentially generate some conversation that I may or may not regret, I have included the meeting minutes from that board meeting in the doobly-doo below. Feel free to take a read, it's about 19 pages, and let me know what you think. Did the board do the right thing by removing the book? Do they need to reassess their entire curriculum because of vulgarity? Anyways, I'm gonna go pet my dog and edit this video, and I will see you later. Bye-bye!